Hello everyone, welcome to day 3. Hopefully I am live and you can see me, you can hear me. I can see that I'm live. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for everybody that watched the replay. Thank you so much for everybody that commented yesterday. I feel that when I am sharing my story yesterday, is a healing process for me as well. Like I said yesterday, it was something that I had never shared before. It was something that I had never been aware of, like my work life and how much that has affected me and how much, unconsciously that was really leaving me in that completely like stress bubble. I kind of felt that, that was normal, and it wasn't until, I read this book a few weeks ago that I realized, that wasn't normal, and I just seek that and manifested that in my life because I thought that that was what normal was like due to what I had experienced in my house, in my childhood, in my early, teenagers and 20s. But I think that I hope I have made you think about that there is another way. Don't think that you are in this prison, that you need to just go down this one road, that the only thing you can do is stay in your job and stay stressed day in and day out. I'm hoping that all the tools that I'm sharing with you, they are free tools. They are tools that are depending only on you, and that you can utilize those tools daily on a consistent basis so you can start distressing yourself. Now I just want to remind a little bit about what we talked about in the last couple of days, right? We saw that graph of that, couple in the car that started with the heart rate low, and when they had an argument, in the car, the heart rate of the husband went up, and after they sorted out, the heart rate went down a bit, but not to the level that it had started. We're going through those situations over and over and over again, day in, day out, and we're not doing anything to lower our stress levels. We're not doing anything to lower our heart rate. We're not doing anything to create a new baseline for ourselves, for our health. We're just on this constant hamster wheel, getting more and more stress each day. And it's not until we get out of this bubble and this kind of hamster wheel that we realize, oh my God, I can actually take a deep breath. Just by taking a deep breath, it has kind of changed, my whole perspective in life. It has changed how I feel about myself. We talked about that really easy technique that we can just take some deep breaths while we have our eyes open. We don't have to be sitting down in meditation with our eyes closed in a quiet space while we focus on the area of our chest, on the area of our heart. I have been doing this since I've been learning this in my, my bachelor's course, and I have been doing this, when I remember. And yesterday I actually was talking to my husband, and he said to me like, oh, do you, I was telling him that I shared this technique with you guys, and he said to me like, do you do that? And I kind of thought to myself, yeah, actually I do. I do that when I'm having a stressful morning with the kids, and I'm trying to run around and gather them so we can, walk to school because you're running late. I do that when I feel that I'm overwhelmed and I have set too many things for me to do on that day. And it's starting to become an automatic habit for me to go back to my breath, to that technique that is just focusing on the breath and on the, focus on the chest area. But guys, what I'm trying to say here is that habits, they work when we do them, when we practice them consistently each day. The first day you might drag yourself to breathe deeply and to put the the attention on your chest area, but the second day will be easier. The third day will be easier. The fourth day will be even easier. But this is the work that only you can do for yourself. So it doesn't matter if that first day you feel like, oh my God, I listened to this stress challenge, and Angelica told me about this breath thing. I'm just gonna give it a go, and I don't think this is gonna work, but I'll give it a go. It might feel like that, but do practice it. I promise you, the more you do it, the more you're kind of rewiring your brain to replacing that habit of being in that hamster wheel, to just moving a little aside and taking a deep breath. And the more you do that, the more you're going to go back to that as a default mode, as opposed to going back to the default mode of being stressed all the time. We also talked yesterday about an important subject. Many of you said you're stressed to the bone about work. As I said, I want you to have an honest conversation with yourself. It's not until sometimes we have some hard conversations with ourselves and an honest conversation with ourselves that we can come up with a different plan. You don't have to do, you don't only have one option. Think about a time in your life that you thought you only had one option, and when we go absolutely desperate, when you wanted to change something, you did change. So why can't you change this now? I talked to you about how important it is to write the intention. If the intention is to change your job, if the intention is to, what you want to do. I want to change my job to doing this. Write it down. And start opening yourself up to a new possibility, to a new future. Start trusting life. And today we're going to talk about, for us to focus on what we can control, on taking 100% responsibility of what we do, of ourselves. In my journey to healing, one of the most important things that I've done was to take 100% responsibility. I just want to point it out, this wasn't a blame exercise. But when I look back at 38 years old, I look like this. I turn up to emergency and I come out 5 days later after an emergency surgery, and the doctor tells me, you've got stage 3 bowel cancer, and you've got 70% chance to live, and you're going to have to go through 12 sessions of chemotherapy. I believe I would be a fool to think that whatever I did up to that point served me. I needed to do something else. If I had been stuck on that mode, I did everything right. Why me? Why cancer happened to me? I've eaten all the right things. I've done all the right things. I've been good to everybody. I've been good to the world. That thread of thought wasn't going to serve me. I needed to take 100% responsibility, and I needed to start looking at every single bit of my life so I could change things around. And today, when we talk about 100% responsibility and focus on what we can control, I think it's an important part of our lives. We live in this world where we, in one click, we can watch the movie we want. In one click, we can buy whatever we want. The next day, the thing arrives in our house. Our sense of urgency, our sense of patience, our reward, the ability of us to believe in the reward process has changed massively. We want things right here, right now, the way we want. But the problem with that is life doesn't quite work like that. I didn't think I was going to be diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer. And I know that many of you have gone through things in life that you didn't think that you would have to go through. We think because we press a button and things happen at our desire and at our speed, that we can do that with our lives as well. But the reality is we can only control the now. We can't control the future. We can only control ourselves. We can't control other people. You know, for me, that was a very, very hard and challenging lesson to learn. And sometimes I still need to remind myself when I get into this control mode of trying to control, you know, the future, trying to get to worry about the future, trying to think that I can control people around me. I always remind myself what I have been. You know, very early on in my cancer journey, I was at home. I had been getting very sick with like colds and coughs, and I decided to self-quarantine myself. But I needed to talk to somebody about my emotional state of being. I knew that part of my cancer was to do with the dysfunctional relationship I had with my family. And I also knew that I couldn't deal with that by myself. I needed to talk to somebody else. So as I was working with my company, as I said to you yesterday, my corporate job, they had this number that you could call, was an employee assistance program for free, and you had 3 or 4 sessions with a psychologist. So I call this number and I book a session with a psychologist. So I called him and I said it was a guy, and I couldn't see him, was everything over the phone, but I could hear that he was probably older than me. So I said to him, "Hi, my name is Angelica. I'm 38 years old. I've just been diagnosed with cancer. I'm going through treatment right now, but I feel that I have a strong mindset to go through this challenge. After spending a couple of weeks in a really dark place, I've got myself together. I'm changing my diet. I'm exercising, but I can't deal with my emotional issues around my family." So I explained to him, what had happened, and he said to me, okay, he said, "Oh, I feel that you should be really proud of yourself. You got yourself together after, such a devastating diagnosis, and, that is really great news, but I understand that, when it comes to, family and emotional issues, it's really hard for us to think differently about it. But I just want to tell you one thing. So you want your family to behave in a certain way, but why should they? They probably want you to behave in a certain way too. And you are not behaving how they want you to behave. Why should they behave how you want them to behave? So when he told me that, something clicked in my mind, and I thought, you know what? I've spent my whole life trying to change them. I spent my whole life trying to get them to behave in a certain way, in a way that I thought that was right. I spent my whole life trying to hold to the sense of me being the right one. I spent like my whole life trying to be right. And all of a sudden somebody else is telling me, who are you to tell you that you were the right one? And I think that when it comes to relationships, at work, family, partners, kids, we are very good at not acknowledging our part in the whole relationship. We are very good at just blaming the other person. We are very good at not taking 100% responsibility. We're very good at thinking that the other person should do this and should do that and the other. But when it comes to us, which is the only thing we can control, it's almost like we have a blockage. We don't want to see it. That perhaps we are the ones that should do things differently. Perhaps we are the ones that are doing something to annoy our partner, our husband, our kids. It's very easy just to stay in this stuck mode where you think you are always right. That you don't need to change. The world around you needs to change. But today I want to invite you to really think about how much, what is your role play here? What can you do? The world out there is going to do whatever the world wants to do. The people out there is going to behave in the same way as they want to behave. They're going to do things that are important to them. And that is just normal. That is just being like a human being. You only do what's important to you too. And by doing that, you might annoy your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your partner, your husband, your friend, without even noticing. But I want you to today take control of what you can control, which is you. You can only control you. It wasn't until I started controlling how I reacted towards my family that our relationship didn't start changing. I started focusing on what I could do, on how I could change, how I saw things. And as soon as I started doing that, our relationship started growing and taking a different direction. Our relationship started changing. Our relationship started going in a direction that I never thought it would ever go. I started letting go of the expectation of how they needed to behave or how they should behave. I had spent all my time trying to be right, trying to prove them I was right. But as soon as I changed the way I perceived things and saw things, our relationship started changing. I stopped waiting for them to change so I could change. You know, sometimes it's easy for us to think like, well, I'm gonna start being nice to my husband when my husband start taking, you know, the rubbish out and helping me in the kitchen, helping me with the kids. Instead of us changing first. Instead of us going, you know, I can control what I can control. And I am gonna start, you know, being nice to my husband first. That's when the magic starts to happen. You know, things start unfolding in a different way. So I want to encourage you, you know, to really think about this. Everyone has the right to do whatever they think it's right for them, in the same way as you have the right to do whatever you think it's right for you. It took me a long time to let go of the fact that my family was never going to behave how I want them to. You know, it took me many psychology sessions. It took me many meditation sessions. It took me many prayers. And it is still a learning process for me. When I catch myself trying to control how they are, I always remind myself, this is not your life, it's theirs. They have the right to do whatever they want to do. So whether your relationship problems are at work, at home, or with family or friends, it all comes down to taking 100% responsibility and focus on what you can control. All the time that you spend trying to change your husband, your kids, your wife, your husband, or your mom and your dad, you're letting all the energy dissipate from you. It's a waste of your energy. You can't control other people. Change you. Work on you. Ask yourself some hard questions. What if I am looking at this all wrong? What if I spend less time trying to be right? That is a very important question. In this day, everybody is walking away with such a big ego, trying to be right all the time. What if I did what they want me to do? What if I became the wife that my husband wants me to be? What if I became the daughter that my mom and dad want me to be? You can only control you, not the world, not anybody else. People can and will do what's important to them at work. Sometimes you go into work, and as soon as we encounter that colleague that we dread to encounter, we already in our energetic field, we send these waves of, here we go again. I bet he's gonna say something to upset me. I bet he's not gonna be helpful. What if on that particular day you said to that colleague, is there anything that I can help you with? Are you okay? It starts changing you. Don't think that you're only going to do something if the other person does it for you. In the same way as you do what's important to you, other people will do what's important to them, and that's not selfish, that's just being human. My son, my oldest son, he's a very gentle and sensitive soul, and he's very much like my husband. I deal with things differently, I am just a get on with person. I am, more. I'm not as sensitive, and I'm someone who I find it hard to sometimes really sit with my emotions, and I just push myself to get on with things. I do this naturally. This is my nature. But when I had my little first baby, and he was totally different than me. As a baby, he just wanted to be next to me in every play group. He was very clingy. He was, even to this date, he loves, being around us, my husband and I and his sister. And he's a beautiful soul. And for me, it took a long time to realize that he was different than me. And before cancer, I because I was so stressed out and, with work and with everything that was going on in our personal life, of my, daughter getting sick in New Zealand, for us moving here, I started drifting away from him. Because I couldn't give him what he wanted me to give him. I couldn't sit with him and cuddle him and talk to him about, whatever he wanted to talk about, his emotions. Because I was always busy, I was stressed. Since I've had cancer, I've realized that I needed to give him what he needed. I wasn't going to change him. I have been trying to give him more cuddles. I have been trying to say sorry. I have been trying to be more compassionate when he hurts himself, when he's upset about something. And since I've been doing that, since I've been taking 100% responsibility, since I realized that I wasn't going to change him, I didn't need to change him. He is who he is, and he's a caring and kind boy. And I shouldn't really ask anything more of him. Since I've changed me, our relationship have gotten stronger, and our relationship have changed. We feel more connected. He comes to me when he needs a cuddle, when he needs someone to be compassionate towards him. Every time that I felt the resistance, before, every time that he behaved in a way that I thought that he shouldn't behave, the more stress I got, because I was trying to control him. I was trying to change him. But all of the time that I started to trying to rebuild a different relationship with him, things started to change for both of us. I let go of the expectation of changing him, of needing to change him. And I want you guys to think about this. What is in your life that, is what the relationship, that at work, at home, the people around you that you have been trying to change, or that you have been feeling stress about, why do they behave like this? Why do they behave like that? Why can't people do like this? Why can't people do like that? Just think about the amount of stress. You are the one suffering, trying to control the people around you, their behavior, who they are. I want you to think about that. And I want you to really ask yourself some hard questions. What can you do to change your own perspective, to change yourself in this situation? Guys, the story with my son, it's not an easy share for me either. For a mom to say that I felt disconnected from him because of my own, way of trying to change him. It's not easy to share, and I hope this shows you, and that I hope this hits you on the spot, on the spot that it needs to hit you. Sometimes it takes somebody from outside to make us reflect on what we're doing. All the time that you feel you're stressed out trying to change other people, that is on you. You are the one that needs to change. Take 100% responsibility. It would be much easier for me to ignore the whole thing of my son and keep going the way I was going. It will be much easier for me to never talk about it. But if you are here, and if you want to feel less stress, I want you to really ask yourself some hard questions. What are you holding on to, that creates stress in your life? Is it your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, your husband's, family? They're doing things that you don't want them to do. Are you holding on to the need of being right all the time? So the exercise today is I want you to go for a walk around the block. Guys, that's not much. I want you to go for a walk, and I want you to sit with this thought. What am I holding on to that is creating so much stress inside me? Things that I can't control. Just be honest with yourself. If you are here, I know that you are feeling so stressed out. But nobody's going to come with a magic wand and take this stress from inside you away. You are the only one that can do that. Let go of the control. Let go of the need to be right. Start changing you. And watch the beautiful things that will happen when you let go of that control, when you let go of that need to be right. Don't wait for the other people to change. Focus on what you can control. Control the now. You can't control the future. I have been there trying to control the future. We can't do that. So I really want you to go for a walk, because when you're going for a walk, you are changing your physiology. You're changing what's happening in your body. You're not like stressed out and your muscles tense. And I want you to breathe in. And I want you to breathe out. And I want you to really sit with this question. All the time that we think like, I'm so stressed out about this, mess, and this whole thing comes in your head that it's so big that you can't untangle. You just think that this thing is so big that you can't even face. But when you really started asking questions and being curious and sitting with it, things start coming to you in a more simplified manner, in a way that you can digest. And you can start thinking to yourself, I've been trying to control so-and-so at work. But you know what? She's going through so much issues at home. This is why she's not potentially, working as hard as she could, because she can't cope with her own problems. I've been trying to control my son, to doing things differently. But he's a more creative soul. And he just needs more time to doing things. Start looking at things differently. Start really going deep in yourself and trying to find those answers that will help you to distress yourself. I want to finish today with another breathing exercise. And I just want to remind you that the breath is what it brings us to life when we first are born, and is the only thing that carries through our whole life until the moment you die. we can always come back to our breath. And I want you to start thinking about how powerful this tool is. When you start shallow breathing, when you start getting really stressed and overwhelmed, come back to your breath and just take one deep breath. I remember the first time that I started learning more about breathing. I already had my surgery. I was probably in the first or a session of my chemotherapy. And I was listening to a book, and the book just said, take a deep breath. And I just took the deepest breath I could ever take, that I had ever taken. And I just inhaled through the nose, and I exhaled through the mouth. And I want you to do this together with me. Inhale through the nose, and exhale through the mouth. I remember that moment when I did this. I felt that that was the first breath that I had taken in years and years and years. I felt that I had been shallow breathing for 38 years. I felt that I had been gasping for air. And I also felt that I no longer wanted to do that. I want you to remind you how important our breath is. And again, just start practicing by taking one deep breath. And again, focusing on the chest area, or you can just count until 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. And we'll do it together so you really started getting the practice of it and reminding yourself of this tool, that you can do it at any time, anywhere, for free. So let's just take a deep breath in through the nose on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now on the inhale, I want you to focus on your chest area, and exhale. Focus on your heart, imagining your breath coming in and out of your chest area. Feel the sensations on your body. And just enjoy taking this deep breath. Now I want you to think about something that you are grateful for. Still focusing on the chest area. Something that you appreciate. Just keep breathing in and allow yourself to relax and to feel connected to your physical body and to your breath. Now take a deep, deep, long inhale. And exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Bring your both hands to prayer position. to the third eye. And namaste. Guys, don't forget the homework today is going for a walk and thinking about what are you holding on that is stressing you out. What are you trying to control? Go for a walk around the block. Allow yourself to relax yourself, to relax your body, so you can really start connecting to your inner self and to getting answers. Don't get scared from the answers that are going to come within yourself. It is by doing those exercises that we start understanding more about ourselves, and we started letting go of the things that don't serve us. Remember, you can only control you. You can only control now. You can't control other people, and you can't control the future or the past. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and I will see you guys for day 4 tomorrow. Namaste.